Welcome back to the Blender 3 Docwalk. This document is on view regions, specifically the clipping region and the render region. Alright, so let's jump in. Okay, so to get started here, we're going to just, I guess, make a little bit of a scene here. Let's drop in a plane. And let's do a torus. And just bring it up a little bit and size it up a bit. Alright. Alright, so first we're going to cover clipping region. Now it has the same utility as, if you remember a couple of videos ago, we covered the local view. And if you remember, you can select an object, hit backslash, and it kind of hides everything else and allows you to sort of zero in on the selected object. So clipping region is quite similar. So if we go up to view, go down to view regions, I apologize. And this top one, clipping region, is what we're talking about. The shortcut is Alt B, so I'm going to use the shortcut instead. And once you select, or once you hit Alt B, you get a little crosshair, and you can click and drag and select, what region you want to kind of have sole access to. So once you do, that took a second. It does a similar sort of thing, right? Everything outside of your clip region has been hidden, while you have access to exactly what is inside. Now you'll notice, because we were in perspective view, let me show you here. The shape is a rectangular pyramidal shape. Now entering clipping region while in orthographic view, or orthographic mode, I should say, instead of it being pyramidal like this, it's the term they use in the documentation is parallelepiped. Well, let's see if I get this right. Parallelepiped. That might be. I might be totally slaughtering that. But what that is it's basically. In fact, I'm just going to bring up the page that they linked to from the documentation. So parallelepiped, right? Parallelepiped. I think we've kind of got it there. Parallelepiped. So you can see it's a parallelogram, or 6 parallelograms. Well, with the parallelogram, right? It's called a parallelogram because the opposing sides are parallel. This side and this side would be parallel, and then this side and this side would be parallel, and that's just extended into the third dimension. So now, instead of the 2 kind of opposing sides being parallel, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 sides that are all parallel, and then these 4 sides that are all parallel, and of course the depth, the 4 depth sides that are all parallel. So the way you exit this clipping region, this clipped region mode, is just the same way you entered it. So Alt B, and that takes you back out of it. Out of curiosity, I want to see why they say that in orthograph. Oh, I get it. Okay, so I was thinking, orthographic view directly from one of the, in any of the perpendicular views, like whether it's top, bottom, front, back, right, or left. It seemed to me that obviously if you cut the rectangular shape out of this and went straight through, that you would end up with just a large rectangular 3-dimensional region. But I didn't think of it like this. So if we entered orthographic view from anything other than one of those perspective points, let's see what we get here. So Alt B. I'm just going to cut out a region. And let's take a look at this. Now, okay. That's definitely it. I wonder if it converts if you go back, to perspective view. Let's find out. So, hitting 5. We're in perspective view, and nope, it maintains its parallelepipeds. It's oh my gosh. Let's see if I parallelepiped. Yep, it maintains its parallelepiped shape. So that's interesting. Now this enables you to edit everything that's been clipped, everything within the clipped region. So what it doesn't explain though, and what I'm actually kind of curious about, is if we go into edit mode, I'm going to hit tab to go into edit mode, and I'm going to, well, let's see, I got to go back to object mode really quick, and I'm going to select the cube. Well, you know what? Let's grab the torus. I think we'll get a straighter answer out of the torus. So I'm going to select the torus, and I'm going to jump into edit mode, and let's see how this affects, you know, what has been hidden, right? So I'm going to grab this and stretch it up. Oh, interesting. I'm going to stretch it outside of the clipped boundary here and set it there. Okay, so now we've put that outside of the boundary, and I'm curious to know if we turn this on, this one. Okay, so if you remember, this is proportional editing, which means that as I grab something and move it, the surrounding vertices, there's kind of this threshold where they will be influenced by the movement of the one vertice I'm moving around. So I'm grabbing this one vertice right here. I'm going to grab it, and I'm going to let's pull it up to here. So now you see that, you know, we've got this, it's influencing the vertice right next to it, and we can actually proportional editing is here. I'm going to come down and remember, we can also enter this if I hit F9, and it'll bring it up in a window, right? So proportional editing is on. We've got the sphere, and here's our proportional size. Okay, and so I'm going to amp that up a little bit to where we're influencing, you know, quite a few of the vertices. And now we're going to jump out of this and see how that has influenced what is outside of the clipped region. So Alt B to exit clipping region, and that is interesting. Okay, so something to note there. It totally 100% influenced what was outside of the region, except for obviously in the case where, you know, we were just dealing with direct manipulation of the vertices that were viewed. So question answered. All right, and the next kind of definable view region that we're going to talk about is, if we go up to view again, we're going to go back to view regions and render region. If you select that, the shortcut is Control B. So we're going to use a shortcut. I'm going to hit Control. Wait. Sorry, I apologize. Before we do that, this is only applicable to the render shading mode. Now remember, we've got wireframe, solid, material, and render. So I'm going to select rendered, and you can see that it is right. It's rendering as it does. And I'm going to hit Control B, okay, to define the area that I'm interested in viewing as being rendered. So Control B. Oh, that wasn't. Oh, I'm in edit mode. Okay, tab to go back to object mode, and Control B. I'm going to select this little area right here, and well, that's nifty. All right, it took me a second to figure this out, but let me show you what I found. Okay, so as we mentioned, right, Control B to define your render region. Side note, I also noticed, as I was trying to fish around, trying to figure out what's happening here, obviously it is not isolating that area, right? it is because of the render engine we are currently using. So before we get to that, I'm going to tap N to bring open my side panel, and I want to draw your attention to this checkbox here, where it says render region. It has a little check mark. With this, we can actually turn the render region on and off. Do also note that if I clear the render region with Control-Alt-B, the render region dialog, the checkbox deselects itself. So if I turn it back on, nothing's going to reappear. Turn it back off, it's fine. But when I define my render region, again with Control-B, notice that the checkbox rechecks itself. Just interesting side note. So, okay, I'm going to close my my side panel there. And if we go up to, render properties here, you'll notice that our render engine is set to Eevee. Okay. If we go down to cycles, this only works with cycles. See, if I switch to workbench, nothing spectacular is happening here. But if I jump down to cycles is the expensive one. You don't typically want that on because it uses a lot of compute power. And now I can see why they would want this specifically for the cycles engine. So I'm going to turn that on, and you'll notice that it takes a second, but as it's rendering, that is the only part of my display that is being rendered. So as I navigate around and through, everything, only what is within that window is being rendered. So that is render region. You can also set a render region from within your camera view. So I'm going to tap 0 to get my camera view going, and I'm going to set my render region while in camera view. So Control-B, and you'll also notice that my render region, let's see, I just want this little area, okay? You'll also notice that my render region within camera view stays within my camera view. So if I jump out of camera view, tapping 0, you'll notice that my external render region still is kind of, its own thing, isolated from what I've defined within my camera view. So I'm going to jump back into camera view, and we'll see that my camera view's render region is a completely different and separate entity. This, using your camera view, is how you would actually render a very specific area, right, if you wanted to check it or whatever. So I'm going to hit F12 to render, and it's rendering over on my other screen, but I'll bring it over so you can see that is the actual area that I have defined within my camera view. So that is what has been rendered. And lastly, before we close up, it also makes mention, it's a see also sort of entry. It refers to zoom region. So not that it has anything directly to do with render region or clipping region, but it's a very similar shortcut. It's a modifier key and B, right? So Shift B is your zoom region, and I'm going to jump out of camera view. Jump out of camera view, and yeah, Shift B is zoom region, remember, and you can, zoom in on a little area by defining the area you want to zoom in on, and then it zooms you in to that area. So that's right, similar sort of a shortcut. So I think that's why, because it uses the select box type shortcut. So there's that. That was both clipping region and render region. So that was the View Regions document. I will see you guys next time as we talk about contextual views. Thank you for watching. If you are finding these videos helpful, please subscribe to the channel. Go ahead and like the video. And of course, if you know somebody that you think might be interested in this, feel free to share it with whomever that might be. I will see you guys in the next video.